So, hello everyone. I am Andrea. I'm the events catalyst for the immersive series and your co-host for today's gathering. And I'm tuning in from Bucharest, Romania, for those who just came along. I want to warmly welcome you and to our gathering and swiftly introduce our guest for today. John is a facilitator, speaker, executive coach, and a partner at Evolution. He's on a mission to help establish more human-centered, purpose-driven, and connected leaders, teams, and workplaces. His work is influenced by a variety of interests and studies like integral theory, positive psychology, shadow work, Wim Hof, and holotropic breath work, non-duality, and other contemplative traditions. Thank you, John, for being here, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrea. Thanks for making these sessions possible and for bringing us together from all over the world. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for being here. I know it's warm outside where most of you are, so I really appreciate that you're here rather than going out and enjoying the sun, or maybe actually you're escaping from the heat of the sun in some of these temperatures I've seen. So yeah, lovely to meet you. I'm dialing in from Berlin, as I've said earlier. Andrea already briefly introduced me. I'm originally from Amsterdam. I live here in Berlin with my wife, our 8-month-old son, and our cat, our Turkish Angora cat. And yeah, I am, just to briefly add to what Andrea already said, someone that has spent quite a number of years in the tech world, at Google mostly, and then also in the startup and scale-up world in Berlin, mostly as a product lead. But around 6-7 years ago, I noticed that my heart really was beating for more of the human side of things, empowering leaders, teams, organization to be more human, to be more connected, to be more purpose-driven, and to really help business become a force for good externally, to bring it back to this possibility of service and really serving the world in a positive way. And also internally, creating communities that feel like even families, where we experience a sense of meaning, belonging, and where we can work with ambition without burning out and while maintaining a good balance in our life. So yeah, I do that a lot by working as a facilitator, as a speaker, as an executive coach. I do that as part of a bigger collective that's called Evolution, that started in Los Angeles, helping companies like Slack build out their success and their leadership team, and going beyond that over the last 10 years. And yeah, basically, therefore, I'm very grateful that I can today bring in topics that are very much connected to this, very close to my heart. And in particular, today, we'll be speaking about leadership and the connection of leadership with AI, and how to get ready for leadership in the AI era. How to, first of all, connect more to our own leadership within that, our leadership within also L&D, but also how to empower our leaders to really create thriving, respected, loved organizations and teams. So the first piece is, I want to take a quick look at leadership itself. What does it mean? What is happening in this space? What is it for you? And what is your own connection to leadership? So we'll do a fun little exercise there. Then we'll look a little deeper into the future of leadership, also meeting AI, and what are specifically the skills and the competencies that will be most important. And then we'll look at, so what does that mean? What is really the human edge and what is the AI edge? How can we sort of bring together the best of both worlds? So let's start by briefly decoding leadership. And before we dive into an exercise with you, 2 quick statistics. One of them is that at the moment, there's still a lot of worry among leaders and organizations to really deploy AI extensively in their organization because of ethical implications. They still are not sure whether AI will always do the best thing, whether it will be fully aligned with what's ethical. So that's definitely something that we still need to explore. And also, there is definitely an issue that there's not as much trust in leadership as we would like there to be. For example, one of the bigger reasons that we see why employees leave their jobs is actually because by leadership. So the activity that I'd like to start with, because we're talking about leadership, but let's make it more personal. Let's ask ourselves, what does leadership mean to me? and in particular, you yourself as a leader, because in a way we're all leaders, not just if we have a title as a leader or a manager or an executive, but we are the leaders of our own life, of our own career, of so many decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. We lead ourselves. And therefore, if you ask yourself the question, if you connect to yourself as a leader, and if you think about you wanting to step into your power, into your vision, into your inspiration that you want to share with those around you, with your teams, with your organization, with your L&D department, why should people follow you? What is it that makes you a great leader? What is it that you can bring that makes people feel like, yes, I resonate with that. I can trust that. I stand behind that. So it's a bit of a provocative question, but please approach it in a bit of a playful way. It doesn't have to be a perfect answer. We'll do it in small groups of 3 in a moment in breakout rooms. And it's just a little experiment. What comes out of your mouth when you ask yourself why people would want to maybe follow you? There's no right or wrong. You'll get around 1 minute per person just to share the highlights. If you don't want to share, you don't have to share. You can just say that you're unclear, you're stuck with this question. You don't have to exactly answer the question, you should follow me because. You can put it in your own words. And then we'll go to the next person that will have 1 minute to also answer this question. And then we'll go to the third person. And afterwards, you'll have 1 more minute or so to just check in. How was that? We don't have to go into analysis or comparing. It's really just an experiment for ourselves, because it starts with ourselves and then we'll go broader into leadership in general. So if Andrea, you'd be willing to help me with set up rooms.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. Just a second. I think we're around 18 people. So we will also have maybe one breakout room of 4 or 2, something like that. So
yeah, let's have groups of 2 if there's too many. So as many 3s as possible, and maybe 1 or 2 2s. You can leave me out so I can prepare the next piece. So again, 1 minute per person. I'll let you know when the time is up by sending a prompt. Why would people follow you as a leader? Yeah, welcome back. People are slowly returning. We'll wait for another 30 seconds or so when everyone should be back. And welcome Mallory to the session. We just did a first activity where we reflected on the question, why people should follow our leadership. So in a moment, I'm going to open up the space to get some reflections, some thoughts on how this was and what came up for you when you reflected on you, yourself as a leader. What is it that actually you believe makes it worth following you? Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a nice little exploration, hopefully a little thought-provoking. For some of us, it's more easy, more comfortable to actually say why you should follow me, why you should follow my leadership. Maybe for others, it feels like it's a little bit like arrogant to say why people should follow you. Maybe you played with the language and instead of should, you use something different. But I'd love to hear some comments. How was this for you and what came up? And just unmute. I'd love to hear voice shares. If you feel more comfortable adding in the chat, that's also fine.
John, I can start because in our group we were talking about leadership, but as we're not people managers, but we were discussing it more like project leaders of a project or leaders of some short time leaders. And now I have even another idea. What I've noticed with big corporation, like for example Sanofi, where I'm working, or any other corporation, that structure becomes really flat. So it's not no more like specialist who is reporting to senior specialist, who is reporting to manager, who is reporting to head, who is reporting to. So this line of report becomes more flat. So there are not so many people managers actually now. There are all these intermediate roles. So it's important, to be leader in your own function and to feel that you're a leader. So this is just an idea that,
Yeah.
maybe now in the moment of time, we should speak about leader, not as people manager, as we were speaking about it before, but looks like new time dictates new notion of this word leader.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
an
I think
idea.
great. A lot more organizations are embracing a lot more of a flat setup. So personal leadership, or self-leadership, as I call it, becomes more important. And it is a form of influencing. It's you standing for what you believe in, what you think is best for you and the team and the organization. Any other thoughts, ideas that came up for others? Then I'd love to hear your voice. Don't be shy. Feel free to unmute.
I'd like to add an interesting realization that while I was saying, I realized that people come to us for certain things, but then they live with something else. Like in the training field, people come for information usually. Like I'm coming to you because you know that stuff, or because you know how, or because you know what. But in the end, what they live with is either habit, empowerment, something very different than what they initially came for. And that's basically how the leadership work. In the end, in the training field, it says that we don't reproduce what we know, we reproduce who we are, aka learners.
Beautiful. So also having a bit more out of the box, open mind to what's really needed in every situation. People might come for one thing, but if you really connect with what's here, what's happening, what's needed, maybe something else will feel more important. And then you as a leader can offer that to your people or to your team or even in a project. Leadership is also noticing what's needed in this moment. And that might be very different than the initial goal that you've set. Yeah. Anything else that any of you noticed when you spoke, hear yourself speak or hear others speak about what is it that makes a great leader? What makes you potentially someone that would be worth following?
I think connected into that, John, it could be the possibility that just be, no, and they feel like welcome to be themselves, and then to growth, and then not just like be leaded at the end of the day, but be part of a team, be part of a project, be part of a bigger probably purpose. That's gonna be also another way then to understand leadership. At the end of the day, is more than that in a transactional role, could be like a relation then when we are like felt like really equals, so we can learn and we can grow and we can build each other's like based on trust and in value. So it could be in that way. That's my way then to understand as well the leadership.
Right. Yeah, it's not just about the doing. We're doing a lot in our organizations, in our teams, in our work, but the quality of our being, who we are, what we stand for, what our identity is, what energy we bring into the room, what inspiration we bring just by how we show ourselves. I think that's a big important piece that you mentioned there. Maybe that's a nice bridge to actually some of the studies that were performed on this topic. So if you look at it, for example, what people reported most as what they believe is most important for leaders, we see a lot of different things here. And the common trend is that the vast majority of these are more connected to emotional intelligence, EQ, than just specifically IQ. So we can see a lot of things like how to inspire, how to motivate others, how to display integrity, how to display honesty, how to communicate powerfully, prolifically, how to collaborate and promote teamwork, how to build relationships, developing others, taking initiative, innovating. Somebody mentioned that in the chat, walking my walk. Absolutely. Actually living that, embodying that, not just saying that, championing change, practicing self-development. So we can see a lot of it is more connected to the emotional intelligence than just specifically the intelligence, the IQ of a leader. And we can also see that if we connect going forward around, okay, what are some of the most important skills needed in the future? Also, given that AI will become more and more disruptive. 6 out of 10 are actually human-centered. So we can see things, of course, like AI, big data, analytical thinking being, of course, important pieces. But creativity, leadership, social influence, resilience, being flexible within all those change, how to lead your teams with flexibility and resilience, curiosity, having an open mindset, being open to replacing your current ideas and belief by others, motivating others, motivating yourself, self-awareness, knowing yourself, what do you stand for, empathy, active listening. So many of these qualities are things that are more human. They're not things that are all going to be so easily replaced by AI. We'll come on that topic a little bit more, but really I wanted to sort of emphasize, also based on what some of you shared, reasons why people would follow you. A list that I really love that sort of summarizes some of these things, which is adapted from some of David Papa's work. Well, why would someone follow you? You trust them completely. You let them play. You give them power. You love them. You genuinely care for them. You care for your people. You care for your team. You're honest, integrity. You tell them the whole truth. You don't create this idea that you're holding something back. You decide with your heart and with your intuition. You look at data, of course, but you don't forget about values. What's important? What does your intuition say? And you share your purpose. You share what you stand for. You show vulnerability. When you do those things, you win over hearts. You don't just win over minds, you win over hearts. So this is, I think, a really nice collection of some reminders of what is it that we can embody more of, to step more into that leadership that will become an inspiration for those around us. Not just as you shared, Marina, when we have a title of a leader or executive or manager, but especially with the more flattening way of working in many organizations, we are all influencing everything around us. We're all leading by how we show up, by how we bring ourselves forward. So that's a little bit of a starting reflection I wanted to do on the topic of leadership. So with that status quo, having connected a bit to, okay, we're talking about leadership. What is it? What does it mean to you specifically? What does this mean for the future? What does this mean for the AI era that has already commenced? We're in it. And of course, at the same time, we're still very much at the verge of discovering what else will happen. And to kick off this next piece, I really would love to bring in a quote of someone I deeply admire, which is Yuval Noah Harari. I hope that many of you have already had the chance to listen to some of his talks or read some of his books. Maybe Sapiens is the most famous book he has written. He truly has a remarkable mind. He is a historicus. He understands the past, and based on that, he understands also what we can expect for the future. And what he says on this topic of leadership and AI is that the danger is that if we invest too much in just developing high quality AI and too little in developing our humanity, our human consciousness, the very sophisticated artificial intelligence of computers might only serve to empower the natural stupidity of humans. What is the consciousness that builds the AI? What is the purpose the human has with the AI? If that place is not pure and ethical and truly skillful and in service of the greater good, then the most incredible AI that we can build will not necessarily be for a greater good. So I really love this. Of course, we want to develop the most effective AI to do amazing things with, but if we disconnect it from the core of how we create it and how we use it, it's not going to have the effects that we want. And it is going to have some of those dystopian, scary sides that many people often bring forward when you speak about this dystopian, scary future of AI. Of course, super exciting to create Netflix series about, of all these things that could happen. Black Mirror, we all know them. But do we really check in enough with how we do it? So to follow up on what he said as well, so for every dollar and every minute we invest in improving artificial intelligence, it would be wise to also invest a dollar and a minute in advancing our human development, our human consciousness. Yeah, thank you, Isabella. AI and any other tool only enhances, amplifies, speeds up the existing system. Advanced systems will amplify their unhealthy sides as well. Beautifully said. So given these challenges, how can we truly equip ourselves and our leadership and those leaders that we develop in our organization, given that probably many of you think not just of your own leadership, but also you are there as somebody that wants to empower and enable the development in your organizations of your leaders. So the quickest, shortest way to maybe start that off is by emphasizing the importance of vertical development. So horizontal development, giving people more information, more theory, more frameworks, and basically filling their cup, their mind, with more of that, and just trusting and hoping that it will all just stick. And again, this is part of what's needed. We need to provide trainings and develop people by giving them trainings, hard skills, technical skills. But if we really want to look at this holistically, we need to not just throw in more stuff into the cup, we need to make that cup bigger. We need to develop the human consciousness, the awareness. We need to actually work on sustainably changing our habits, our behaviors. We need to learn how to not just get new information, but integrate and apply that information in our day-to-day. This is where the deeper transformation starts. And this is why horizontal learning, I believe, will be taken over more and more by AI, because at almost everyone's fingertips already, you can instantly access all the different knowledge, all the different conceptual, analytical, rational knowledge and information. It will be easier and easier to access that. We don't want to overinvest in creating trainings where we just pump up people's minds with information, because we just don't have the capacity. We're overwhelmed. We're always on. We cannot take it all in and actually effectively integrate and apply it. So therefore, horizontal learning will be there, but more and more, I believe, taken over by AI. And vertical learning, the part that happens through the human development, that also happens more through the actual integration, developing new habits. It's not just something that we can replace by AI. We can therefore see this also in the studies. If you look at this recent trend analysis from Microsoft, the 3 skills most needed in the future, very similar to what we saw earlier. At number 3 is emotional intelligence. At number 2 is flexibility, resilience, adaptability. So we need to look at some of these things that work on the vertical level of the human. Now, what does that mean? Let me ask you a question. What do you think are some of these deeper vertical skills that you would love to see being offered at your organization, for yourself, for your leaders? I'd love to hear some examples. What are some topics, ways of learning that you believe connect with this? Again, you can share in the chat or unmute. Innovation, curiosity, having a growth mindset. Critical thinking. Yeah, given how much information we can generate these days, also with AI, how can we critically assess which parts are actually really true and useful and ethical and which parts are not? Can we discern that? Ability to hold contradictions and ambiguity. Beautiful. What was the question? What are some examples of the type of learning and development that you believe will be most important given what you've seen so far in this session? Yeah, so just reflecting on this question, you don't all have to share, but it's just a way to get ourselves thinking. And while you maybe continue to think, I want to also show some examples of this on the screen. So these, what you see here, are the 4 domains of emotional intelligence that Daniel Goleman coined, that I believe are very much connected to this vertical development. So it starts with self-awareness, which helps develop more things like emotional regulation, self-confidence, recognizing how your behavior impacts others, and so on. From that place of deeper self-awareness, we can also become better at managing ourselves, which helps keep disruptive emotions and impulses in check, acting in congruence with your values, handling change flexibility, and so on. And from that place, we can also take it broader into the social awareness. So if we are more aware of ourselves, we can also learn to become more sensitive to what's happening with others, with our team, with our environment. Picking up the mood in the room, especially as a leader, you need to know how to read the mood in the room. What's going well? What's not going well? Are there any elephants in the room? Is there any unresolved tension? Caring what others are going through, this quality of empathy and compassion, and hearing what the other person is really saying, mindful, attentive listening. And from that place of social awareness, we can also then start managing our social environment, managing our relationships, managing our teams, getting along with others, avoiding conflict. When we have conflict, handling it effectively, clearly expressing ideas and information, and using sensitivity to another person's feelings to manage interactions successfully. Acting with the mindfulness of interbeing, resilience, self-awareness, ability to reflect. Beautiful. And connected to this, the vertical that we use at Evolution, which is a lot of stuff at organizations in L&D focuses on the it, the systems, the meeting culture, OKRs, the outcomes that we have. And of course, this is an important component, but I think especially given that AI will help us a lot with these type of aspects, we want to emphasize more the I and the we connected to the level of our consciousness, at the level of who I am, what I stand for, what my values are, and then the level of the we. How do we connect? How do we collaborate? How would we speak? How do we resolve conflicts? So I think what we need is an integration of the I, of the we, and of the it, so that we also, besides looking at what are the financial results, what are our OKRs, what personal fulfillment, what culture do we have, what are our agreements, what are the processes and behaviors and structures underlying that, which is more the do level, and maybe even more fundamental, the B level. What is the purpose that I hold as an individual? What is the purpose that we hold as a team? What is the purpose and the values that we hold as an organization? What is our identity? This is where the level of vertical development comes in. It's at that foundation. It's the often less visible part of the iceberg, that if we invest in that piece, we are going to get better behaviors, better processes, better structures, which lead to better financial results, more fulfillment, a better culture, and so on. And practically speaking, what that looks like, therefore, leadership starts with learning to lead yourself. It then makes it more and more possible, because if we lead ourselves, we understand our own human psychology and emotions and inner world well. This is the foundation for also understanding others, and it helps us to lead others more. From that place, we can take on even bigger projects and really lead teams and bigger teams, and become more of a transformative leaders that integrates all those parts, that is aware of the I, what is happening inside of me, of the we, what is happening inside the team in the collaboration, and what is happening in the it, our environment, our competitive landscape, our meeting culture, our culture in general. So this is where I believe awareness and deeper vertical development can help us gradually step into this more transformative form of leadership. So with that in mind, let's connect it back to AI and do a little exercise by having a look at, okay, so AI is here, AI is growing. So what are the ways that we can actually make the most of AI? And then what are the ways that we can make the most of the human qualities that we have, that we just discussed? So how can we really embrace AI while staying connected and valuing human qualities? So for that, I'd love to invite you into another short reflection in small groups, where I'd love you to think about what are some examples of tasks, activities projects for which we want to leverage AI, and what are some for which we want to leverage human qualities, leadership of through self-connected, empathic, compassionate, transformative leaders. So let's do another quick breakout room, let's say around 4-5 minutes. We can stay in the same groups that we had before, so we can build on the earlier conversation and just have a little stab at this. Don't have to come up with all the answers, but everyone just at least share maybe 1 or 2 examples of things that we really need to tackle by AI and things for which we really need that human essence, that human quality. All right, so Andrea, whenever you're ready, please open them up and we'll see each other back in 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, lovely to have you all back. I hope that you've had an insightful conversation and were able to connect with some examples. I'd love to hear maybe from a few of you, what are some things that you learned from this exploration? What were some examples of tasks, activities, projects that really require AI, and which ones require these human qualities that we spoke about?
I can go. Probably the ones that require analysis of large volumes of data or something to do with communication, like sending massive messages across the organization, things like these, could be AI powered, and it definitely brings in a lot of simplicity in regards to analyzing data, giving us the themes to work upon. But areas where it speaks about the safety, more of the psychological needs of people and things around these will definitely need the human touch, and it is pretty good for us to have more of that relationship building rather than doing it through AI. So yeah, that's what at least came up in our groups.
Beautiful. Lots of things that resonate with me, the way you speak about that. Thank you. Anyone else, something to add?
For instance, what I've been hearing that unfortunately I wasn't be able then to directly is then to support for larger organizations, thinking about like leadership and development and how to improve like the personalization, suggesting tracking paths and everything, then to grow into your career, suggesting like activities then to accomplish it now. So I will expect then to have that kind of support from the AI in a way that it's personalized, the path that you are following, the activities that you may take and you accomplish, and reporting, but and how to support the advancement now through the large organization at the same time, at the same level. But the human quality is in there then to connect, like the strategy and the abilities or the skills, the requirements, and probably put it in place, and then to start from there to offer that kind of a personalization coming from the AI, and then to leverage and scale up that kind of experience.
So you can do a lot of things with AI that will support you to lay out this track, and you don't have to think of all the options and get some great suggestions, but then the way you actually execute that and go through this and try, does this feel right? Does that feel right? Do I want more of this or more of that? For that, we need that human awareness, getting the feedback from our body, what energizes us, what makes us feel alive, and what drains us, makes us feel tired and heavy and feel contracted in the body. If we don't have the self-awareness, we will not know how to make the most of that beautiful trajectory that AI has generated for us. Great. Maybe one more person that wants to share anything, and then we'll continue. No? All right. Cool. Then, to connect this also to what I've been seeing from my conversations, from my research, from my work, is that, basically a lot of it connects to a few things you already said. Leaders who leverage AI can really a distinct advantage in productivity, efficiency, and decision-making. Those are three big areas. And human-centered leadership really allows us to excel at attracting, retaining, developing, motivating your people, your top talent, and really these things that people need in order to feel that connection to their leadership, to their teams, because that's a big part of what makes us feel alive and gives us energy at work. You cannot do that just by offering people the best possible AI tools. It needs that human-centered leadership aspect. So if you want to convert that into questions that you can ask, when to leverage AI and when to bring the human qualities to a situation is, does the situation rely on knowledge, rational thinking, or analysis? Very much these left hemisphere parts of the brain, or does it require social, emotional, interpersonal qualities? This is more the right hemisphere of the brain. It's a simplification to think about it, but really AI works on the level of concepts, analytics, rationality. AI is not going to have the edge in the more subtle human, personal interactions, emotional intelligence. Of course, we can generate almost real humans these days, but for now, there's still a big gap in getting that same level of humanity and consciousness in AI. So this is where we can thrive with our humanity. So I love this matrix from the Harvard Business Review, the potential project, which summarizes some of this. So a guide that you can use to assess where you should leverage AI versus being human in your challenges that you face at work, and how you also want to empower your leaders, going from the more repetitive and simple tasks that, of course, we can automate, all the way to more complex research and data analysis that AI can do much better these days. But where it lacks is really the individual, the team development, that human side of things, and strategy and decision-making is really where these two things need to come together. So you need to also know how to blend them, how to use the tools to empower the human ethical decision-making that comes from the right consciousness and the right ethical awareness of what's truly most in service of us, our team, our organizations, our customers. Yeah, thank you, Isabella. So AI can help you make decisions, but there will be a lot of irrational decisions. AI can reproduce faster your good decisions, but still your responsibility to review them. So you as the human consciousness acts as sort of that instrument that can create the distinction, what is really true, what is ethical, what is right, what is skillful, and what is just simply a lot of arguments or information, but it really doesn't feel like it's the right thing.
Well, as someone who trained AI, I can say that if you clean up your data with what you train the AI, your good decisions can be replicated very fast.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't clean up, your bad decisions will be replicated very fast as well. So that's one thing. And the other part will be replicated only for certain conditions. The moment some of the conditions change, you are responsible reviewing the AI decision, because otherwise will tell you negative targets, for example, which is BS. It's still on you. Yes, 4 neurons can take faster decisions than 7 millions, but only for a limited defined context.
Wow.
And you are still responsible of owning the context, owning the limitation, and reviewing, was this decision made in the context or outside of context? It's like stretching a bit, like generalizing. AI can generalize without telling you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for adding that piece. It's very connected to basically this study also done by Harvard Business Review this year, which actually shows that only 75% of people have limited trust that AI can understand human behavior at work better than human leaders. So situations are very specific. There's specific context. So you need to really indeed understand what is the specific situation here and what does this require. So human leaders still understand human behavior better than AI. AI can analyze it, but so often it's so specific to the situation. Thank you, Lisa. So yeah, coming to a wrap up slowly. I believe the future of leadership and AI is AI enabled, not AI dominated. And one of the ways how I've seen that described really nicely recently in a Harvard Business Review article is that, of course, there's no doubt that AI has and will continue to transform our work, our lives. In the not so distant future, even our current reality, most of us will spend a lot of our time interacting with different systems, with ChatGPT, with internal systems that have integrated AI that will guide our decisions, it will guide our actions. And leaders who don't understand this fact will be unable to leverage AI and will be left behind. However, at the same time, leaders and employees still want and value human-centeredness, human-centered leadership, despite the shortfalls and blind spots that we have, because leaders who deepen the ability to lead with humanity will actually eventually win at attracting, retaining, developing, motivating top talent, as I've said before. So this will require us to tap into distinctly human qualities like awareness, compassion, wisdom, a lot of these things connected to the vertical development that we looked at. And this is therefore an amazing opportunity for all of us to be more authentic, to be more connected, to be more human. This part is actually not being pushed away by AI. It's just becoming ever more important to be that right foundational support for AI to do the best possible job. So just an example that I want to leave you with here before I close with you is an example of how we at Evolution do our leadership development. It often starts in person, really getting your leaders, getting your teams together, either for a proper 1 or 2 day training, or more for an offsite if you just want to do a proper mission, vision, values, have a look at the culture, have a look at what's working, what's not working. And then follow that up afterwards for a number of months with ongoing development, ongoing accountability, either through one-on-one executive coaching or coaching for senior leaders. So they have that sort of support and champion partner that can hold them accountable, or through virtual coaching circles, which can be done either also for senior leadership or for management, as a way to blend content with coaching frameworks, accountability, deepening connection. So I think that makes of starting in person and really first focusing on human connection and creating that foundation for ethical, skillful, authentic ways of leading your teams, leading your organization, and making business a force for good, and creating that human glue that we have when we come together and go deep together. And then the continuation where we gradually integrate and implement, have accountability, where we change behaviors, where we stay on track, is through 360 reviews, psychometrics like using the Enneagram or leadership circles, and then ongoing one-on-one or small group support in circles. So this is just some blueprint that has worked really well for us over the years to really make sure we don't stay behind on that development of human consciousness as we go on and develop AI. So this is what I believe works. And of course, happy to be a soundboard, happy to discuss or explore this to help you after this call if you want to reach out. Absolutely love to hear from you. So with that, the final thing I'll ask of you is to just reflect on one big insight that you got from today's session. What is one thing you're taking away for yourself, for your team, for your L&D department, for your leadership development intentions? Please share it in the chat, or share it with your voice if you still have a minute or two to be here.